punches and promises. Have you ever been let down because of a broken promise? Sometimes we use the word promise to really mean hope. You might say something like, I promise we're going to save up and go on that really big vacation. But you've still got to pay off your roof. You still got to pay off that surgery, and your kids for some reason want to eat dinner every night. Or have you ever promised a friend that their job or relationship is going to work out when really neither of those things are under your control? Well, in Acts, Paul has been resting on a promise of a better life with Jesus, but he's also remembering a promise from chapter 9, verse 15. There, God promises Paul that one day he'd get to bear the message of Jesus to kings. And God's promises are not like ours. They're not hopes. They're not dreams. They're guarantees. And today, chapter 23 starts with a bang, literally. Paul's talking to Jewish religious leaders, and he says a really strong statement that rubs them the wrong way, and he literally gets punched in the mouth for it. I know it's crazy. All sorts of chaos erupts in the room, and a Roman commander grabs Paul and pulls him to the safety of a jail cell. Now, if you're new to the Bible, Rome is normally the bad guy of the New Testament, but here Rome saves Paul. And so I can imagine Paul being confused, sitting there in his cell that day, thinking about the chaos, remembering God's promises and where following God has taken him so far. And there we read in verse 11 that the Lord stood near to Paul and said, "Take courage. As you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome." This sounds to me like a promise that Paul's going to get out of Jerusalem. And that same night, a plot is uncovered. 40 Jewish dudes promise to ambush and kill Paul. Luckily, their promise turns out to be a false hope. Rome continues to do the things we don't expect them to do. When they hear about the plot, the commander orders that 470 troops, along with fresh horses, escort Paul safely to Caesarea to speak with their governor or their local king, Felix, and God is faithful to his promises. As we continue to read through Acts, we see that Paul's life is never really a life of comfort, but God continues to guide Paul, staying true to his promises. And because of that, Paul is faithful to God till the very end of his days. Today, if you feel like you're being punched in the mouth by life, I want to ask you, what kind of promises from God do you need to remember? Or if you're just exploring faith, or if you're new to following Jesus, I want to encourage you to keep following with us as we journey through the book of Acts and see what kind of promises you see from God in Scripture.